pretty crowded at that time. But it was known then as the second city of the empire because it was such a huge manufacturing and industrial centre. The city was founded in the 6th century when a church was built here first. It became important in the 12th century when the cathedral was built. Named after King George III. It's where we have all our rallies and commemorations, celebrations and riots, they all happen here. Quite a lot of statues in the square. There's some interesting ones actually. There's a statue of Queen Victoria as a young woman on a horseback on the corner there. But what you won't find in George Square or anywhere else in Glasgow in fact is a statue of King George III. Until fairly recently, ocean-going ships could come up this far. On the right, once this car transport has gone by, where the Alpha building is, beyond that, BBC and the Science Centre in the distance there. That's where some of the shipyards used to be. Duration of many of the magnificent buildings that you see in the city centre, converting them to new uses and attracting new occupants. And that strategy was so successful that in 1990 Glasgow was named European City of Culture. Certainly a tourist destination. The fact that you're all here on a damp Monday morning shows that. I'm even told that it has the best shopping in the UK outside London. I don't see much else at all but to wait for this mist to disperse. It's a very tall bridge to allow ships to pass underneath. Well, that's quite an interesting effect, isn't it? A low cloud cuts everything off at a certain level. I said that the tobacco merchants and other wealthy men of Glasgow in the 17th and 18th century built their grand houses in the city centre. The shipbuilders and the other industrialists of the 19th and early 20th centuries didn't do that. The city centre was not a pleasant place to be by that time. It was very crowded, very industrial, very dirty. A strategic point for certainly hundreds and possibly thousands of years. There have been a number of fortifications built on that rock. The most recent being Dumbarton Castle, which is an 18th century building, and it became important at the end of the 18th century during the American War of Independence because it commands the entrance to the Clyde and the approaches to Glasgow. It protected Glasgow's trade at that time, so a very important position. It's not a military base now, it was preserved. You can visit it, but not today, for a time. Artificial ones, some of them quite tiny. Built any time from the Bronze Age up to late medieval times for defensive purposes. The loch itself is the third deepest loch in Scotland, but it does have shallow parts to it, so in those shallow areas it was quite easy to build yourself some kind of a platform in the water. You put your dwelling on that. Who first identified them all and listed them, Glengal, whose name obviously was Monroe. And we have about something like 280 of those throughout the UK, mostly in Scotland, so I'd quite like to get rid of this tree plantation. There you might see them on this hillside on the left as well. These are artificially cultivated trees. Here 2,000 years ago, 70% of Scotland was covered in trees, and for that reason the Romans called the place Caledonia. Caledonia means land of the forest people. But between the time of the Roman occupation and the end of the First World War, the tree coverage in Scotland declined pretty dramatically from 70% to 1%. There were a couple of reasons for that though. In the lowland zone, which we've now left, it was mostly because of land clearance for farming. But in the highland zone where we now are, there was a different reason. It was the result of climate change that took place in medieval times. But it's because of the geography in these locations and what used to happen here in the very distant past. It's always given to a place, a piece of land between two bodies of water. In this case, Tarbin here, we've got a freshwater Loch Lomond on the right hand side, but a couple of miles over this hill to the left is a sea loch, Loch Long. These localities, any time from the 8th century up to the middle of the 13th century, when the Vikings were raiding up along the coast of Britain, they would sail their longboats up the sea lochs as far as they could get, as far inland as they could get, and then they would take the boats out of the water and drag them across the land using rollers until they got to the next piece of water, in this case Loch Lomond, and then they would carry on inland doing the things that Vikings do. Body of water like Loch Lomond here as an obstacle to travel, but in those days, especially in the Highlands, where there were no roads at all, travelling by water was by far the easiest and quickest way to get around. Now we've turned off onto what becomes a very windy and narrow road, which hugs the shore of Loch Lomond. No agriculture at all. You're not going to be able to grow crops in this environment at all. So what the Highlanders did in the past, any time up to the end of the 18th century, was they bred cattle in large numbers. And the cattle that they bred, of course, were Highland cattle. And since you've been here, you've probably seen pictures of these animals. You're hardly out of the airport before you see pictures of Highland cattle. One of the iconic images of Scotland. Until the middle of the 18th century. But the Highlands had its own system of government at that time, which you've probably heard of, the clan system. Clan is a Scottish Gaelic word. It means child or family. So if you're a member of a clan, that's your family. There might be hundreds or even thousands of people in the clan, but you'd be related to them all in some way or another, however distant. Each of the clans had its own area of operation, areas of Africa and South America. It lasted in the lowlands of Scotland until the middle of the 15th century when it died out, and it lasted in the Highlands until the middle of the 18th century when it was really stamped out by the government. Now, I'm going to stop here. This is Inveruglas, which is one of the national park centres. Also seems to be a bus station today.
Sister, and that's the frog. So handsome. Yeah, isn't he cute? And all the frog killed. That's his other sister. Absolutely love it. And it killed him in a bow tie with his mom. And he's always smiling. You like wearing that kill fry? I can't believe it.
And what they would do was, if they had a battle or a skirmish of some kind with the Highlanders, and they captured some of them, they would take them off to prison, somewhere usually just over the border into England, somewhere like Carlisle or Berwick, something like that. They would keep them there for a while. But keeping prisoners is an expensive business. Just to show who is in charge. And though you never know this from the words of the song, that's what it's about. It's plenty wide for this sort of thing. These people are all amateur, you know. Yes, you wouldn't know it from the words, but that's what the song is about. Martin to look after, so he has responsibilities. The younger brother doesn't have any of these things, although he does have a girlfriend. So, very nobly, he decides that he will be the one that's executed the next day, since he's the one with the least to lose. He's transported back to Scotland, which, I have to say, doesn't show a great deal of ambition. Most religions will promise you that when you die your soul goes to a better place, not the same old place. They look safe enough, don't they? We're sitting down here on a main road in a little bus, so we're safe enough. But these mountains and hills can be quite a dangerous place to be, especially in the winter. Every year, 10 or 12 people manage to die in the hills and the mountains in Scotland. And of course these days we've got mountain rescue teams, we've got helicopters, we've got mobile phones and GPS. All of these things are helpful if people do get themselves into trouble in a place like this. So is quite an important aspect of Highland culture, even today. Not so much in the urban areas, but certainly in an area like that, if you did that, you would get that reaction. But traditionally, it goes deeper than that, because the two people involved in that exchange or transaction, the person that's asking for help, the person that's giving it, are from that moment onwards joined in a bond of friendship which lasts their lifetime. So, and it's practically a sacred bond, I suppose. So that's an important thing I want you to remember, which is known as Argyll. The major clan was and is the Campbell clan, and the Campbells were a very powerful clan. Still today a very large clan, very wealthy. At the end of the 17th century, the chief of the clan, Campbell, was given the title Duke of Argyll. The present chief of the clan, Campbell, is still the Duke of Argyll, not the same man, obviously. But there were other clans like that, the Murrays in Perthshire, the Grahams in Stirlingshire. All of them were rewarded for their loyalty. The coach is turning off, getting a bit fed up reading his back end. This is Tyndrum. It's a tiny little place. It exists these days really only for reasons of tourism. One of the places that people stay if they're walking or climbing in these hills and mountains, or if they're tackling the West Highland Way. But you know what they get out of it, and I suppose it must be a sense of achievement, because they never look very happy about it. I've never seen one of them crack a smile. Now the West Highland Way is just down to the right there. That track there, it's called the West Highland Way now, but the track itself is much older than that. It goes back to the beginning of the early part of the 18th century. It's built by a man called General Wade. General Wade he was an Irishman, in fact. He was a member of the British Army and an engineer, and in 1722 General Wade was sent to the Highlands by the King to survey the place to find out what could be done to make it easier place to govern. The government in Westminster was trying to get a grip on the Highlands at that time. And so General Wade was here for 2 years, and he carried out his survey, and at the end of that he reported that what the Highlands needed was roads and bridges and barracks. He was thinking from a military angle. It was still quite a dangerous place at that time, but some people did do it, braver people. One of them was Dr. Johnson, Dr. Samuel Johnson, a famous English writer. He made a trip through the Highlands and into the Western Isles in 1773 and wrote a diary of it. So that was really the first step in opening up the Highlands, the establishment of the military roads. And until the 1930s, those were the only roads in the Highlands. This road that we're on now was built about 1930. It's about twice the width of Coventry and Wayne's Road. All he was interested in was marching troops down it. Spectacular scenery, which I'm hoping you're going to be able to see today. But the other is, it's famous for very tragic and largely pointless events that happened there at the end of the 17th century, 1692. Personally, I wasn't a very attractive man, but it was a clever one. So everything was fine with him on the throne. Some of his successors, though, weren't quite so popular or acceptable to people. Charles I and Charles II both made attempts to change the form of worship in this country to a more Catholic form. That didn't go down very well in England or in lowland Scotland. In fact, Charles II attempted to bring back bishops to Scotland, which we managed to get rid of the previous century. And there were riots in Edinburgh about that, so they weren't very popular. But eventually, Charles II died, of course, and was succeeded by a brother of his, another James, who became James VII of Scotland and the second of England. Quite a short period. James was forced into exile and forced to flee to France. France is where we always send our kings and queens when we get fed up with them. A nobleman called William of Orange was invited by the Scottish and the English governments to slow down, for God's sake, I'm trying to get past you. The Glorious Revolution. And that was perfectly fine with the people in England and in lowland Scotland, but the people in the Highlands, who were mostly Catholic, were very unhappy about this event. They weren't very pleased at all. As far as they could see, their legitimate Scottish Catholic monarch had been kicked out and replaced with a foreign Protestant monarch, and they weren't happy about that at all. So, in 1690, the majority of the Highland clans rebelled against the king. This was the first of this series of rebellions. There were 4 or 5 of them in total. All of them failed, and they were crushed pretty brutally by whichever god happened to be in power at the time. Exert his authority over the whole of his new kingdom, not just the bit south of Stirling. He'd been very much angered by what these rebellious Highland clans had done. So in August 1691, King William wrote to the chiefs of all these rebellious clans demanding that they all, individually, sign a document expressing their loyalty to him as king, and that they all do that by the 31st of December that year. And if they didn't do that, there was going to be trouble. Most of the clan chiefs, having been recently defeated in a rebellion, decided that it was sensible to sign this document. And they did. A small group delayed. They had written to the exiled king in France asking him what they should do about this, but eventually he wrote back and told them that it was probably sensible to sign it. They could always have another rebellion later on. Fishing. There's a number of large sporting estates on the moor. You can go there to do that sort of thing if that's what you enjoy. But it's not a cheap thing to do. It can cost you anywhere between £500 and £3,000 a day to shoot deer on these estates. However, they don't seem to be short of customers. it's got good effects. You often see film crews on the moon. James Bond films. Skyfall, it was partly shot on this. There's a bit of sunshine in the distance now. Things might be looking up. What you're looking at is peat bog. Peat bog covers in Ireland and North Wales and Scandinavia. What it consists of is layer after layer of particularly bracken is a member of the fern family. That all grows very vigorously in the spring and the summer. But at the end of the year, the autumn and the winter, but because it's so wet here, that layer doesn't properly decompose before another layer is put down on top of it the following year. So it just builds up year after year. It's very spongy. In fact, it acts like a sponge. It absorbs huge amounts of water. So if you go out walking on it, which people do, it's quite easy to stick your foot through it. There's always water underneath the rest of the deck. But if you're very unfortunate, you might even fall through it. If that happens, it's a bit like falling through ice. You're not likely to be seen alive again. However, you would have the satisfaction of knowing as you went down that your body would be preserved perfectly for thousands of years. One of the attributes of a peat bog is that there's no oxygen in it. So anything that falls into the bog or is put into the bog is preserved perfectly. As I said, this is a very exposed place. Very few people live here. There's probably less than 10 houses, certainly less than 20 houses on the whole moor. And it's a big area, about 50 square miles. The houses that you do see are always protected by trees. And this road, of course, is very prone to closure in the winter. Just before Christmas that year, that the chief of the McDonald's set off on horseback to ride to Fort William to sign this document. Now, the distance isn't very great, only about 15 miles, riding across country in appalling conditions, and because of that it took him a few days to get to Fort William, but eventually he got there and he presented himself at the garrison in the town and asked to sign this document, and was told, well, it's good that you want to sign a piece of work. He and his government wanted to make an example of one of the clans in the Highlands, to show that the government and the king meant business. And he had a plan to do that. He wanted to make an example of one of these clans. 2 companies of soldiers who were mostly members of the Campbell clan were to be sent into Glencoe with the orders that no member of the McDonald's of Glencoe below the age of 70 was to be spared. In other words, they were all to be slaughtered, men, women and children, as a warning to the other clans in the Highlands to behave and not to rebel. The tradition of Highland hospitality. And of course the McDonald's, all unsuspecting, honour the tradition. They take them in, they give them food, they give them wine, they give them beds to sleep on, they entertain them, they generally treat them as honoured guests. And these Campbell soldiers, that they were waiting for orders, because they knew what the orders were. They were to wipe out the McDonald's for was the signal to carry these orders out. And on the 12th night, the signal came, given, and started to murder the MacDonalds in their own homes. And of course, they were taken completely by surprise. This was the middle of the night, it would be pitch black outside. The MacDonalds would be in bed asleep, wearing their night clothes, probably with nothing on their feet, and they wake up to find that they were being murdered all over the glen in all the little villages and crofts. If the soldiers managed to kill everybody in a house, they then set fire to the house to make sure that it couldn't be occupied again. Some of the MacDonalds, of course, realising what was happening, give the Campbells a reputation from which they have never recovered. So although the Campbells might still be, in that day, they were politically very powerful as well, but nobody in Scotland likes them very much, and that's why. Because of the massacre of Glencoe. We don't think in this country. Now this is Glencoe itself. This is the landscape into which these people were chased in fear of their lives in 1692. It's also a landscape that's followed the had an outside shot of the school, Hogwarts School. That is the background that you're looking at. The school is added by CGI. Right. This is the quietest I've seen this place for months. God help them. Now I said that there were about 500 people living in the Glen. Hardly anybody living here now. I think there are only 3 houses in the Glen, and one of those is not occupied at the moment. And lots of people will tell you that the reason this Glen is empty is complete rubbish. Of course they came back here, but this Glen is empty, and there are many others to do with the massacre of Glencoe. It was a much later mechanism that took place between the middle of the 18th century and the end of the 19th century, a period of about 150 years. And during that time, tens of thousands of people left the Highlands. States paid. So they wanted to convert from cattle to sheep, and to do that, they needed to get rid of the people that lived here. On the left-hand side, this is Loch Lenny, which is a sea loch. That's salt water. It leads all the way down to the Irish Sea. So we'll still think it's like this, where it's full of misty glens, which it certainly will be today, and populated in time end of the 17th century as a military garrison. It was named after King William. There is no military garrison here now, no military presence at all. And that is largely because of the arrival of the railways. When the railways got here,